Let me tell you something. Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a guy named Ron Delsener.
The playbook today for the concert business was written by Ronnie Delsener.
Through the work of Mr. Ron Delsener, the producer, we're going to book some of the most exciting musical talent in the United States.
New York City had all different kinds of acts, but they were all presented by Delsener.
Ron Delsener Presents.
His name came before the band. Ron Delsener presents the Eagles.
All the best shows in the history of New York was Ron Delsener.
Well, it's great to do a neighborhood concert.
Ron Delsener was ubiquitous, and New York was his town.
Jake, it's so nice to meet you. I saw this movie probably at Tribeca a couple years ago. So and I was really excited about it because I mean Ron Delsener obviously was around after I moved to New York in '87. But I think the Ron Delsener Presents thing was kind of slowly going out by then, by the time I came here. So I didn't get the full experience.
Sure. I like your background too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's either that. I always use something from the movie art because otherwise it's just a bunch of boxes and stuff behind me. So
I like that.
My apartment.
Thanks so much for checking out the film at Tribeca. And
yeah. And what kind of got you started on this? I mean, was it just like a typical just seeing his name and being more interested in him, or did you actually know him? Or
there was a few things. Yeah, no, I've known Ron in a kind of peripheral way for a long time. I kind of grew up around the live music business, and Ron was a guy who was around at all the New York shows, and I became sort of familiar with him like that. And Ron is a guy who has sort of great stories and an amazing history. He's good at telling jokes. And he could tell you kind of great stories about everyone from kind of Hendrix to the Beatles to Nina Simone to anyone. He's so I thought, this is interesting. He could be a good subject for a film. I heard him on a few different podcasts, an Alec Baldwin podcast in particular that I thought was great. There was a good one with Gilbert Gottfried, and I thought, Ron is interesting and has this kind of amazing, that all these stories kind of happen throughout time, and he's almost like a Zelig-like figure in this way, and that they all work great as sort of these individual stories, but pieced together, his story kind of tells the story of tells a part of the story of the history of live music and kind of how it happened. Obviously being part of the Beatles, coming and performing at Forest Hills in '64 through to kind of everything it turned into with these giant global companies like Live Nation and AEG.
Yeah, I was actually curious about the Live Nation connection because I there was a scene of him at the offices, and I wasn't really sure. I didn't really know the connection at all until later in the movie it's explained that eventually his company was bought and then bought different things. But when did you actually start this? Like, when did you actually first start following him around or sitting down to interview him to do this?
Well, I think it started long before we started filming stuff. We just began, I think, talking about it in 2017 almost. And then it would be a thing that I would run into Ron and sort of mention it to him, and he would kind of wave me off or be like, yeah, we'll meet. And then I wouldn't hear back from him. And then I kind of just was persistent, and eventually he took a meeting, and I just began kind of trailing him at shows with a camera. And I wasn't sure. I don't think he was even sure really what it was or what I was doing at that point. I don't even know that I knew in the beginning. It was just sort of fun because he had all this access to these shows, and he was kind of fine with us following him around with a camera. So we just did that. And then, kind of one thing led to another, and COVID happened. And then I was like, well, we have all this great footage of Ron at shows. What do we do now? And I spent kind of COVID. I spent a lot of COVID actually in Ron's basement in East Hampton, kind of going through all his archives. And Ron, I wouldn't really call them archives. They're not. It's just kind of piles of stuff. But like you go through the stuff and it's revealed, these amazing photos that he had, incredible Bob Gruen photography, to incredible footage of the shows, to every contract, every backstage pass.
Oh wow.
Just amazing. For a documentary filmmaker, is kind of a dream. And it gave me something to do during a kind of strange time. So me and a colleague, Kate Greenberg, kind of spent the time just archiving it for Ron, digitizing stuff, and then also sort of doing a lot of audio interviews with him. And then after the pandemic, kind of once we were through, I guess the major part of the pandemic, we kind of picked up shooting again, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, I was wondering about the COVID aspect of it because obviously, Ron is older. You don't want to, you don't want to put him in
Yeah.
danger by trying to make a movie, because that would be the worst ending for your movie ever.
That's
But
for sure. I kept telling Ron, don't come down to the basement. You stay up there, I'll stay down here. We'll wear masks. We were pretty diligent about how to do it during COVID. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, 'cause there's some of the scenes of you following him around to all these different clubs, Irving Plaza and to Beacon, all in one night, which is something which I mean, I wouldn't even do, and I'm probably 30 years younger than him. But what was that all? Was that also like 2017, 2018? That was all in that pre-COVID era also, or?
They were different nights, but that's not it sort of Ron does go to 3 or 4 things a night, but those particular ones were, I think, a couple of them were on the same night. It's yeah. But the story that's told is true. Ron goes to 4 or 5 shows a night, and he'll hit the Beacon, and then he'll hit the Garden, and what's going on at Irving Plaza, what's going on at Webster Hall, and he'll make the rounds, and he'll check in, stay for a couple songs, and check in with the act, the manager, and he's on to the next thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was curious about the timeline also for that, because mainly because of COVID, but also during COVID, there were no shows in New York from March till October or something like that. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, well, that's really when we went into I mean, for us, COVID was kind of a time where I could kind of reflect on what we had already shot, but then also kind of focus on the archive and his archive. And we resumed shooting when it was sort of safe and shows were back. But I didn't really want to make a meal in the movie of COVID, and I didn't really want it to be a COVID film. Even though it's sort of, there's hints of it. You see Ron wearing a mask, and you see but I didn't want to make it what happens to live music during COVID kind of thing, because to me Ron's story is sort of too big to I didn't want that to be a kind of distraction. And I think it's something that people don't want to think about. I think what's great about live music is it's like you don't have to think about, you shouldn't have to think about COVID. So yeah, no, that wasn't a part of the film.
I mean, that was the longest time I've ever gone without a concert since I was like 14. Except when I didn't want to cancer for a year. I didn't go to concert for about a year, but this is a longer period. But yeah, let's not think about that. Let's move on. But also, I was curious, 'cause I think I read that he retired in 2022. So that's why I was curious about the timing wise of that stuff versus his retirement.
Wait, but about like when we were filming?
Yeah, because you retired in 2022. The film was Tribeca 2023.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, you were just editing and finishing up the post and getting all that stuff done.
I think we were editing by the time. Well, no, I think he had retired while we were filming.
Okay.
Sort of around the time. I mean, the thing is, these films, we kind of would film a bit, edit a bit, film a bit more, stop for a while, edit some more, film a little bit more. So there's not really like a strict timeline per se, like it happened over the course of years, really, from 2019 to 2020. When did it come out? 2023.
Yeah, yeah. Typical doc. That's a normal for doc, I guess. Many years.
Normal for a dog. Yeah, it took
Yeah.
many years, and it was sort of, stops and starts. So yeah, it covers a lot. It covers a lot of things that changed in the world over a period of time.
Did he have anything he didn't want you to cover, or was there anything he like? Did he have any stipulations at all? Say, hey, let's leave this out of it, or stuff that was just very much he wanted just you to be honest and
It wasn't really anything that he was on. I mean, no, Ron's kind of like Ron is Ron. He's just sort of he just, he'd get cranky with us sometimes just for like turning up at his house or for it just depends what kind of mood he's in. But as far as like, yeah, no, he didn't really have any stipulations for stuff he didn't want filmed.
And did he make it easier for you to get in touch with like people like Springsteen and Billy Joel and all these people who obviously love the guy. They want to talk about him and say nice things. That was he helpful in getting in touch with them to appear in the movie or
Honestly, a lot of that, a good deal of that, a lot of that was reach out on us, but then there's a few acts, and I won't say names, but a few acts actually reached out to us asking if they could, saying, hey, I heard that here there's a, you guys are doing a Ron Delsener documentary. I'd love to be part of it because I think that he means a lot to a lot of acts. Help break them in New York, or they feel like a debt of gratitude to Ron, where they wanted to kind of share and be part of the film. So that stuff was pretty easy, actually. Well, yeah, we were pretty lucky in that everyone we interviewed was kind of into it and excited.
I mean, but for sure, Bon Jovi and Kiss especially are very like they obviously pay say exactly that what he did for them as far as getting to break them out in New York for sure. Um, and what about getting some of the music, the music rights for some of the performances and things like that? Or was there any kind of a lot of times you have music in a movie, even like Simon and Garfunkel in a Central Park. There's always like issues.
Well, we were very lucky. We had one of the great music supervisors in the world, Randy Poster.
Of course. Oh my God, he's the best. Yeah, of
He's the
course.
best. And extremely lucky to work with Randy on this, who helped us enormously with getting and clearing all the music that we had. And it was a mix of, I think, a lot of acts sort of helping with where you can. I mean, obviously, like music rights and music rights. But then also sort of Randy making kind of great deals and just figuring out how to get it done. And just even actually working with Randy, I reached out to Randy, and I didn't really know Randy at the time, but I just reached out to him on email and I said, hey, I'm doing this documentary on Ron Delsener. I'm wondering if you'd be interested in music supervising. And his immediate response was Ron Delsener Presents. I grew up on those shows, and
Sure.
Yes, it was a resounding yes. So that was huge. And that was a big part of how we were able to have this amazing soundtrack.
Oh, cool. And you also have Money Mark, who's I guess he produced the Beastie Boys and stuff. You have him do the score. How hard is it to get his score going when you have so much other music from all these great acts as well? How hard is it kind of like put that in there as well?
That's also, I have to credit Randy too with and it's funny actually. I had, we were talking about sort of composers for the film, and I grew up, generation, I grew up in the kind of the 90s. Beastie Boys were really like a big thing for me. More so than a lot of the music covered in the film, although I did listen to a lot of Beatles as a kid. But the score really, we were thinking about composers to do it, and I had an inkling or an idea that I love some of Mark's Keyboard Repair, the Money Mark album, and sort of that kind of loungy sound, and it kind of, there's something about that kind of works, I think, with like Ron's cadence. And I kind of had that in my head, and then I talked to Randy Poster about who would be great to score this film, and his first thought was Money Mark.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow, okay. Oh, great. And they are friendly, and actually I met Mark before on something, so we all met, and it was a kind of cool meeting, and Mark was really into it, and was into the kind of the references that I'd shared and the kind of vibe. And actually, that was one of my favorite parts of making the film, was working with Mark. And I went out to LA, to Eagle Rock, and we did a lot of the mix of the scoring to the film at Mario Caldaldo, who's the engineer.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
All those Beastie Boys records.
Yeah.
We did it in Mario's studio, with a lot of Mark's kind of synths and keyboards. So that was like a total dream, you know. That was really that was sort of the icing on the cake for me.
Great. Before I let you go, I mean, this was obviously shown at Tribeca. Have you been urged to do any kind of work on it or on it since then, or did you kind of finish it then? It's been done since then, and now it's coming
We
out.
tweaked certain things, you know. There's things that you can have in a festival that you can't have in a sort of regular theater where you're selling tickets and
Sure.
music rights, and so there are some tweaks, you know, and I think we cut some time out, but more or less it's the same movie. You can't, as a filmmaker, you always want to keep tweaking and tweaking,
Oh,
you know.
believe me, yeah. I work with musicians. I know. I've been working on an album for the last 4 years, and it's not done yet. So
Exactly. So yeah, it never ends. In my head, it will never end. I'll always be like, oh, if I could only just get in that room and but yeah, I mean, it's a weird time with documentaries to get them into the world. But finally we have a release, and it'll be in theaters May 30th. Please go check it out.
yeah, and abramorama is great with that too. By the way, is that on your board on the back? Is that your next project? All those cards? Is that something you're working on, or?
Yeah, but it's all just made it up for this, just to make it look.
Oh, nice, to make it look like you're working on something new. That's great. Awesome.
I'm just sitting at home on the pants right now. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, I don't believe that. Anyway, Jake, Jake, it's so nice meeting you. Congratulations on this movie. I'm really happy that people are going to learn more about Ron Delsener. I think he's really pivotal to rock music and music in general, and it's great that he's getting out there. People will be able to see it. So,
hey, thank you so much, Edward or Ed? What do you go by?
I go by Ed. Yeah, either's fine. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ed. This has been great, and thanks for
likewise.
The conversation, and I'm happy you like the movie. And to your audience, please go check out our movie.
Every time you went to New York, you knew you were going to see Ron Delsener. This guy's there, he treats us like a king. He's going to take care of you at the gig, and you were going to have a good time.
It became a big business. And the fact that he's still around is kind of a miracle.
What am I doing this for like this? We should be talking, right? I'm gonna die doing this.
You know me my whole life.
I'll have a massive stroke. Yeah, the only thing is I don't like dying. I don't like worms.
Whoa! Holy shit!